Hi, I'm Trey. I'm the CEO of Dryden Gold, a company that's listed on the Vancouver Stock Exchange, and we're exploring for high-grade gold in Northwest Ontario. We've got a large project, and we've been public about 1.5 years, 2 years, and we're really just scratching the surface of some very exciting properties.
You are just scratching the surface, but it's what a year it's been for you guys. We'll get into that in a second. You're here in London, so appreciate you being here with us. A few meetings here, and then you're dashing off to Switzerland next, aren't you?
Yep. 2 days of meetings here in London, and then I go over to Zurich for 2 days of meetings.
Yeah. Gold's a bit easy to get meetings, I suspect, in this current market of ours.
Well, it's gotten easier, you know. Luckily for us, we've been able to raise money through the bad market too. So, but yeah, it's a little more fun here at $4,000 gold.
It certainly is. Well, look, like you say, you sort of scratching the surface. I think you're being maybe a bit unjust to yourself. You've made a couple of nice discoveries this year, and sort of building up your team as well. So maybe do you want to summarise what you think 2025 has happened? What's happened in 2025 for you guys?
Well, look, we with our exploration program, we had 4 goals, and one was to expand the gold rock target area where all the historic drilling had been, where the 53,000 gram per ton hit was. We hit several other high grades, and where we started out there was 3 known vein systems, or about 250 meters apart. So we wanted to expand that area. It's about a 1 kilometer square area, and find out how much gold was in the whole thing. And the second goal was to explore our regional projects at Sheridan and Hinman. That's goals 2 and 3. And then also we did some work up north of the Gold Rock target area in the Gold Rock camp at Mud Lake to prove that there's periodicity to these areas in the Gold Rock camp. So those were the 4 goals. We haven't seen the results from Mud Lake yet, but said we were very successful in expanding the Gold Rock target area, and we made discoveries at both Hinman and Sheridan.
Yep. Well, super high grade. I think that's what got people a little bit excited about the one. But you put out some results recently. They seem sort of lower grade. Maybe the market has maybe not reacted the way that you'd hoped. Why was that work important to you, and what's it done for the company?
Well, we as we were drilling early this year, we made some discoveries of some very high grade stack structures along the known Elora mineralized structure that we had been drilling last year. And these don't have surface expression, so you really don't know they're there until we drilled them. So we drilled one, and we hit 300 grams per ton over 3.9 meters. And we stepped out to drill that deeper, and we hit another one and hit 55 grams in that one over 3.5 meters. So then we said, well, let's just step way back. So we went all the way over to the Big Master vein system and drilled what we called the gap hole. And we hit 9 of these structures as we went across in about a 300 meter. So now what we thought was one vein that ran about 1 kilometer long, or vein structure at Elora, and same over at Big Master, we now have several of these structures with high-grade gold in it. Now that we made a discovery early this year. We had been drilling last year at Pearl, at Jubilee, and had a lot of good results there, and the market really started to pay attention. This year we went up about 300 meters to the north and drilled an area called Pearl and made a high-grade discovery there. And the way that they are targeting and honing in on the high-grade gold is, they've gotten pretty good at it. We've kind of figured out the system, where the different deformation events intersect, and kind of been able to predict pretty well where the high-grade gold is. But what we wanted to do was see what was in between there.
Right.
So, those were the results we just released between Pearl and Jubilee. And 27 meters of 0.77 grams, and then in one of these stack structures, these hanging wall structures where we hit, the one where we hit 300 grams per ton, it had widened out to 15 meters wide. And again, it was a little over a gram, so it's not high grade, but it's decent enough grade that, where we thought this could have been barren in there. And instead what we're seeing is that there's gold, lower grade gold along this whole trend for almost a kilometer with these high grade intermittent shoots. And that's it's the low grade that's going to pull it all together so that you can actually go and mine the
Explain that, because I think that's what people want to understand, because you're looking at these super high grade veins, you're drilling across, what, 7 structures you said, or was it 9 structures?
There's about 7 right in there.
7 structures, right, as well. See, again, this is a high grade veining type activity off of presumably some various sort of hanging walls in there. This lower grade stuff, when you say it kind of brings it all together, what does that mean in mining terms?
Well, this low grade, all of this gold, the high grade and in this area, the high grade and the low grade all starts at surface.
Right. Okay.
So when you're talking about these big widths of lower grade, you're talking about something that's not waste rock.
Right.
And that potentially this could be an open pit, starter pit kind of thing, which in these Archean low gold systems, if you look at Red Lake or, as probably the best example, because our geology is so much like Red Lake, it didn't really even get good and high grade until they got down to about 700 meters. And the real high grade was at 1,000 meters. These Archean low gold systems, they go on forever. I mean, you look at a lot of examples of in Canada where they never have had a huge resource, but they just keep mining or drilling ahead of themselves as they mine down. But exploring these at depth is fairly difficult. They're very vertical structures. So to drill 500 meters of vertical depth, you have to step out almost 1,000 meters and to drill the hole and get down that deep. And when you get down past about 700 meters in this rock, it gets pretty hard to control the drill. And so you're getting much more variation. The deeper you go, or the longer the hole to get deeper, the more variation you have up and down and back and forth with the drill. So, and of course, you're targeting in a very smaller area for that high grade. So having the low grade mixed with the high grade, where, what we're hoping is that potentially this pulls together into something like an open pit potential with the 1 gram material everywhere and enough of this super high grade stuff to maybe end up with a 5 gram kind of deposit there.
Is that starting to affect the way that the geologist team under Maura is thinking about future drilling? Because if you've kind of got a starter pit, and you're not like, moving, topsoil, soil out of the way, which has no value to it. There's monetary value in it today, certainly, as you say, $4,000 gold. And you've got the super high grade kind of, these 2 super high grade vein project assets as well. How does the drilling look like next year? Is it different from what you thought you might have to be?
Well, look, I think we still have to go back and find more of the high grade, right?
Right.
And we have to follow the high grade down, and because of the complexity of the geology there, the way it folds and bends and twists, following the high grade, that's another reason it's hard to just drill deeper and prove, oh, here it is at 500 meters, because you don't go from 200 meters down and know you're going to be at the right spot, right? You're still in that structure as it's dipping and twisting and folding. So it is a matter of drilling your way down, if you will.
But I guess what I'm trying to get at is, what's the picture you're trying to paint for someone else? Like, you're explorers, right? The whole team are explorers. And imagine when you got into this, you're thinking, right, I tell you what, just prove up some super high grade stuff, and then it becomes someone else's, like a developer's problem to get after it. But now in a market like this, you're saying, we've seen a lot of companies do these kind of, well, actually, we could probably kind of get going with some nearer term revenue opportunity, open pit, starter pit, whatever you want to call that. which will then pay for this kind of deeper drilling, which we're going to have to do to kind of show the future potential scale of this.
Matt, we're still operating under the Great Bear model. You're not going to have us talk because, I mean, we would like to show the potential to the potential or strategic partners and stuff that, hey, there's a lot of low grade here mixed with some very high grade. And we're going to go target some more of the high grade. We'll continue to drill out that gold rock target area with about 50% of our budget in 2026.
Okay.
And find more high grade, expand, and we'll move back over to Big Master and kind of fill in that whole kilometer square area with tracking these structures and finding more of the high grade within it. But we're now pretty well convinced that the low grade runs the entire strike length. Okay, it's just a matter of now finding the high grade within there.
That's what I mean. Okay, so you will focus targeting the high grade. You're not going to go and do more drilling like you've just put out, which is this kind of lower grade, 1 gram type stuff in infill. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's essentially yes, but I think just because there's low grade at surface doesn't mean that high grade isn't down there below that somewhere too. Because in these systems you have these pods. The high grade it tends to run more in chutes, so you can kind of follow it. But the really super high grade is in pods, and it can be anywhere. So I'm not sure of we're kind of going over now exactly where to follow up, but we think we'll drill more on these stack structures and try and expand the high grade like that 300 gram per ton hit and follow that down and show that there's more of that. But then the other 50% will be focused on expanding within the Gold Rock camp, which is, we've got targets that are being put together, and we're figuring out because the Gold Rock camp in this Archean lode gold system is about 20 kilometers of strike. And there's several targets, and we've had John Fingus out there for the last 2 years doing the mapping out there and finding the next target, this Gold Rock target. Because this is just a 1 kilometer square area, and we think over the 20 kilometers, we'll see several of these.
Right.
And again, very much like the Red Lake camp, where you had the Coconut mine, the Campbell mine, the Red Lake mine, spread along 8 kilometers of strike.
Yeah.
We think that's what the kind of system we're into here. So we will look for more of this, and we'll explore trying to find the next one of these areas.
Yeah.
And then also with that other 50% is continue to work on Sheridan and Hinman, because those, what's really turned out to be interesting, and again something I don't think the market really appreciates, is that we're in a Timmins-like camp here. We have this Archean lode gold system that looks very much like Red Lake. Yeah. But Sheridan is in a intrusive related, and it's going to be a lower grade, probably more of a bulk tonnage kind of target. With our first 3 drill holes there, we hit over 135 meters of, it was only about 1/4 of a gram in that, but on some of the structures prior to that, we hit much higher grade. And again, we have about 5 kilometers of strike there. So what we've done is kind of hone in, and we've just put 3 or 4 more holes in down there to find where there's higher grade in these long, these big structures there. So that's very interesting. And as we get, we've identified now where the intrusive is, and so to get closer and finding the controls there. But Maura. I mean, her and her team are, they're very systematic in what they do. They don't drill a lot of holes at once and spend all of the money. Yeah. They drill a few holes and they step back and figure out what's going on, and then they go back and drill a few more. And once they figure it out, we'll probably, add a rig down there that maybe on a more permanent basis. But the same over at Hinman. So Hinman's now a completely third type of gold mineralization. Mm-hmm. This is granodiorite. It's a gold stockwork with veinless stringers running through the granodiorite, very much like the 1.5 million ounce Goldland deposit that Next Gold has. It's only about 30 miles to the north. And of course, Maura worked there, so she understands that. the guys who are doing the drilling for us, Fladgate, they did all the work at Goldman. So we've got some guys on this that really understand that. This is another probably more of a bulk tonnage kind of target, but we did channel sampling there this year on what we could get to where it was washed off on the surface, and we think we got like 23 grams over 4.5 meters, something like that, which is amazing for a channel sample, that's very high grade. So as we speak, we're putting the drill rig down there and going to drill some initial holes there. So I guess what I'm saying here is, and we have 70,000 hectares, and it is really a gold district is what we think. We've got next gold to the north with they've got about 3 million ounces. One of their deposits, Goliath, is in VMS. So we now know that there's at least 4 types of gold mineralized deposits in this district. Right. And, that's very much like Timmins, where you go 20 kilometers away, you're in another gold mine, but it's a completely different type of mineralization. I mean, what it tells you is that the plumbing system here, when the gold, it doesn't matter which rock you're in this district. The gold endowment was so great that it's all got gold in it.
So tell me this, right? You use a phrase like, okay, what the market hasn't realized, right? You said that earlier. Is a phrase where either you've got to take responsibility for not communicating it to the market and not helping them understand the importance of the recent results that you put out, or it's unfortunately one of those things that junior miners are going to suffer from, because the market's sitting back and going, well, we want something else from you. You've given us this. It's a case of the tail wagging the dog scenario, which we've all come across in our lives, and the only way around that is delivering what they want. In which case you go, well, that stops becoming systematic, and that stops becoming what's going to actually geologically work for Maura and her team. So how do you take care of both camps?
I think we, and that's if you look, and you're exactly right. The market wants to see the shiny penny, right? They don't want to see this longer term. We're working on these different projects. Why not just spend all your money at Gold Rock?
Where was Maura before? She was working with one of the big guys, right? So she's got that mentality.
Yeah, right.
How you go about
exactly.
Building camps, right?
She ran the whole exploration team at the Red Lake mine for 5 years.
Yeah.
So she had 90 people working under her, a $50 million a year budget. They were able to really get in and understand the geology better than they had before, and got the finding costs there down from $500 an ounce to $50 time she left. And of course that mine was getting very deep and a little tired, but still in operation today. And I think, look, that's why 50% of our budget is going to go into Gold Rock. Where we know the high grade is. We're going to keep chasing that high grade. We're going to keep putting that together.
People want that, right?
The people want that. Now, our strategic partners, Alamos, Centerra, and some other majors and mid tiers that that we've signed CAs with, that we can't tell what their names are, but they like what we're doing. They appreciate it because this is what they want. If they and our goal is ultimately to be bought out by someone like that. So we could spend 5 years putting a resource together at Gold Rock, or we think in 2 years we can show, hey, we got something going on at 3 or 4 different places.
If I look at people like Northern Superior, obviously BT came in there, has taken them out. You've got Maple, where Agnico Eagles kind of come in and added a lot of cash to the bottom line. They can help with that dropper. Do you think that's the model that if I was investing in you guys today, that's what I'm looking at. We've got a gold district, but let's kind of focus on a gold camp here, which will appeal to a major to come in and work with us on this or buy it out?
Well,
or JV, however you want
to
do
buy it
that.
out, look, that's the other nice thing about really that the market doesn't appreciate is because if we do get onto something here with the follow-up drilling at Sheridan or at Hinman, those properties could easily, we have the option of we know what's there, or we know that something is there, and maybe we do joint venture that out separately. It gives us many more options that way. And it's funny because, you watch the message boards and stuff, and I can't help myself, but follow along. And, some people will say, well, geez, why didn't they just put all their money into drilling and go for the high grade? And then, but one very sensible person on the CEO.ca message board, for example, that, he says, hey, look, he said, they told you at the beginning of the year this is what they were going to do. And now they've done it, and they've been successful in everything they said they were going to do. So if you don't like what they did, maybe you should have listened to what they said they were going to do and not bought the stock in the first place. So it's not for everybody. And we realize, look, we have to put out some of the high grade stuff. That shiny penny is what gets the headlines. And, all of a sudden you're on the lists that come out of the best drill results for the week and stuff. So we'll continue to do that, and we'll find more. There's as you know, incredible high grade in this area here and on this property, and it's really from one end of the property to the other. So it's a big boy project, and I think
I think that's the point. It's a big boy project which will require big boy balance sheets, and you kind of said quite clearly that's what we're kind of laying out for someone to kind of come in and do.
And not just with what we're doing on the but it's the way that Moore is doing it. It's all they're doing, all oriented core, assaying every bit of the core. When we started doing complete assaying, the previous operator only assayed the quartz veins. And all of that's why they never discovered these hanging wall structures with incredible high grade gold in it, because they're in different rocks. They're in either the shear basalts or some of the disseminated sulfides and stuff that weren't even getting assayed before. So the way that we're running the program is also something that all of the data and everything we're doing is something that a larger company would come in and say, look, we can follow up on this. This is not just and had we just focused on high grade and
systematic means something.
And look, when you have your strategic partners, and Centerra, for example, who made the investment last year, and they've been out to site, and we meet with them quite regularly and stuff, and they're very excited. I mean, they told us, we know we can go back to Jubilee and hit high grade intercepts anytime we want, but we've drilled quite a bit there. Now we could go deeper at Jubilee and follow it down, but that they're one of the ones who told us, we don't care if you do any more drilling at Jubilee. Let's see how
we
far
get that. Get over here.
Well, let's go. Let's move up the strike length here and see what's happened. And now that once we started hitting these hanging wall structures, well, now you got. And again, keep in mind that the good news is we've got all these hanging wall structures, but now from a high grade standpoint, we've got where so many more targets, because we've got these high grade shoots won't be the same. The high grade shoot that went through and hit 300 grams per ton, when it got to the Jubilee zone over on the Elora, the main Elora shear structure, it was 2 gram material again. So you can't drill these, like even though they're close together, you've got to target the high grade in each one of them separately. So it's
don't go for the easy stuff.
This is science. This is real science.
Yeah, I think you guys have always demonstrated that. You don't go for the easy stuff. It is systematic, and you're looking to kind of build out a camp, you build out a district, and more importantly, attract the Centerras of this world by doing it the way that they would do it. So, look, I think I'm very conscious. You got to get over to for a few meetings in a second. We'd love you to come back and sort of talk a little bit more on what the drill plan is for next year, having sort of sat back and analysed the data as you've sort of outlined today, and talk to me about what you think you're going to do in 2026, because you've done what you said you were going to do in 2025. More of the same, please.
Well, we closed the financing in August, so we're fully funded going into next year. And we've actually started. The first 3 holes at Sheridan were the official start of the 2026 program. Right. We always start our program in the fall. We're actually, not on a fiscal year. Our fiscal year, our fiscal drill program is a little different than the calendar drill program. Yep. So we've actually started that. So this year, on top of putting together, our own facilities there and core shack and everything, and building up the team so that we're doing most of the drill work now all internally with our own team. Last year we were using outside consultants. They were hauling the core off to Thunder Bay and logging it, and while we oversaw all that, of course, it wasn't like Moore is there every day watching what's going on. So that's been a big step for us in our growth this year, and so this year we did quite a bit of field work. We spent about $1 million for doing a property-wide soil till program, which we haven't seen the results yet. But this is again the kind of thing that the major mid-tier companies want to see. That's the first thing that the top explorers, somebody like Kenorland, that's the first thing they do on their property, is kind of find out where those pathfinders and what the geochemistry really looks like, and where you have potential. So all that work, groundwork, and the LIDAR, everything was done in this year's budget, 2025. So going into 2026, our budget is almost all drilling. So we'll do a little bit more field work and expand on some of our targets in the Gold Rock camp, and of course do a little bit more field work at Sheridan and stuff as we're tracking for targeting the drilling. But pretty much it's all going to be drilling this year. So exactly where it is and how we move will be depending on the results. And again, we'll very soon have the second pass from Sheridan. That'll tell us how many holes we're going to drill, how many more holes we drill at Sheridan, and when we go back. The access, the infrastructure of this property is so incredible. We've talked about it before. The Highway 502 runs right along the side of the main part of our property, all the way from Sheridan up, cuts through the middle of Gold Rock, goes up past our camp, and then into the town of Dryden. Then the Trans-Canada Highway you take from Dryden over to the Hinman property. Both Hinman and Sheridan have been clear-cut from the logging. So that's why, Hinman, even though the Trans-Canada Highway runs right through the property, has never seen any exploration. And we drove on a logging road and made the discovery, looking at it, saw some quartz off the side of the logging road. So my point here is that the access and the movement of the rigs is so for us to move the rigs around is very easy. We can get in and out. And it, now the one rig will always stay probably in the Gold Rock camp. It's a little harder, but that other rig, we're moving it around Sheridan to Hinman, and so we expect to do between 20 and 25,000 meters of drilling this year. And again, about half of that will be targeted in the Gold Rock area. And the other half will be with the other targets in the Gold Rock camp. The periodicity that, we're Mud Lake is about 2 kilometers from the Gold Rock target area. And we've drilled that. We haven't seen the results yet. And then Sheridan and Hinman, and we'll spread that drilling around to try and build up all 3 projects there.
Good man. Thanks for coming to see us. Appreciate that, and good luck with your travels.
Thanks.